ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. My name is Mr. Dogboat333, and welcome back to the New Campaign Trail. This is the second part in our little Nothing Bad Ever Happens to the Kennedy sub-series, where we're playing a couple of different campaign scenarios as the Kennedy family. We started off with 1960 with the original one, John F. Kennedy versus Richard Nixon. And it didn't go too well for us. The first time we played, no one won. And we did a quick re-roll, which we won, just not as much as old JFK ended up getting in real life. But we still won. And so that sets us up for the first mod we're going to be playing in this scenario. So if none of you know how to load a mod, this is going to be a nice little scenario. So for New Campaign Trail, you select the mod loader. And if it's already in the mod loader, you can just scroll down and find the scenario you want. So we're going to be playing a Viva Kennedy, a 1964. So we're going to select that. You're going to have to select which running mate you want, so keep that in mind. We're going to be doing Kennedy Johnson, because that is the, I think that's the canon one. And it sets us up for whenever we do the 68 one, where Johnson is the nominee. But we're going to do Viva Kennedy. So we're going to select that. And then you scroll down and hit Submit. And we get a nice new banner. These side tile things. Good luck with that, Kev. One of my, and I think I mentioned this in the first time, these are filmed live on twitch.tv. So if you guys want to join me when I'm playing New Campaign Trail, hit the follow. I do a lot of strategy games mainly, but you can join me and sometimes and play along with me at home or at live. My dear friend Kev, Mr. Man-Arm Streams, is currently playing the McGovern 1972 scenario, so that's going to be a rough one for him, but I wish him the best of luck. Meanwhile, we're going to be playing in 1964. How you play the mod loader? You weren't paying attention, were you? You click the mod loader, then you select the you do the touchdown screen, submit, and then you should click here to begin, and then your scenario should be loaded up. Might look something like this, just with different. You got ads? Oh no. Oh no. Ooh. That was horrible. Shoot. And I'm just gonna get reading, and then I'll clue you in while we're waiting for some loading screens. The 1960s have been a period of change for America. The economy's been on the rise, the civil rights movement has been expanding, and the Cold War has been escalating, with tensions reaching a boiling point both at home and abroad. The 1964 election will be pivotal in shaping the future of America. After narrowly escaping an assassination attempt in November of 1963, President John F. Kennedy will be focused on playing up his achievements in his first term to win re-election. And then Arizona Senator Barry Goldwater won the Republican nomination as a conservative, but he'll need to find some common ground with the rest of the party in order to combat Kennedy's popularity. So, here there should be mod loader. Click that. Pop up. Something like this, but not this. Then you scroll down, select what mod you want, and then hit submit. This scenario was made by these cool guys. You can find their red information there, and as always, as long as I remember to, link to play the game should be in the description. If not, just Google New Campaign Trail, or you help me in the comment section, I'll put the link in. So let's go ahead and start. Yes, they do. They have some wacky scenarios. John F. Kennedy is the incumbent president of the United States. After an assassination attempt in Dallas the previous year, he's now seeking a second term. Kennedy's a popular incumbent, but he'll have to navigate some of the controversy of his first term. Tensions rising between the northern and southern wings of the Democratic Party as the Civil Rights Act continues to gain momentum, only made worse by the new scandal surfacing around Kennedy's vice president, LBJ. The Cold War is also still a huge issue for many Americans, especially with the Cuban Missile Crisis of '62 still fresh on voters' minds. Can Kennedy sail his way to second term, or will he find himself lost in gold waters? You see what they did there? That's clever. I like the writing of this mod. The guys who made this did a really good job. And then we have a couple different running mates. One thing I really like about this mod is that there are a couple different VPs, and you can do different strategies with all these VPs to win. So that's a really cool thing they thought out. We're going to be going with LBJ. Lyndon Baines Johnson has served as your vice president for the last 4 years. Before that, he served as the Senate Majority Leader, skilled legislator. He would help deliver Texas to the ticket and shore up the South. However, you and LBJ don't enjoy the best working relationship, and his career was devastated by a corruption investigation in the Senate last year. Putting up Johnson for re-election would infuriate the northern wing of the party, and his connection to Bobby Baker would hurt you in your ticket there, but he may just be the only Democrat who would help keep the South in line. Well, let's see what we can do. Hit continue. Winner take all, normal. There we go. Let's do latest polls. So this is the setup at the start. We're doing better in the West, especially compared to last video. And we do have a lead in the Electoral College. 320 to 218. Back to the game. As you are renominated for a second term of the Democratic National Convention, you step up to the podium and deliver your acceptance speech. Which topics will you most focus on? By the way, if you ever load up a mod, make sure if it pops up one of the older ones, hit the latest polls and then go back to the game. It should refresh. I think he did that for a second. I think we saw Hillary down there. And I'm not gonna lie, I play this scenario a lot, so I have a pretty solid strategy on how I want to play and maximize my electoral count. But we'll just go ahead and we'll do that. With the Sound Management Administration, we defused the nuclear missile crisis in Cuba and have given the United States a leg up against the Soviet Union. We are winning the Cold War. Now is not the time to switch leaders, and I will continue to lead the nation through the most challenging period in our history. I need to decide if I want to bring out the old Kennedy impression I had. Your speech clearly has a foreign policy focus, and your advisors do think that this could be a winning issue for you this fall. Beautiful. You've once again chose Lyndon B. Johnson to serve as your vice president. Is there anything you'd like to tell the voters about how you came to the decision? Okay, I'll try the Kennedy impression, but it's been a while since I've done this. Lyndon's a Southern at heart, and he represents the core ideals and values of the Democratic Party. He's the obvious choice for our ticket this November. More generic Boston, New York-y, but it's okay. People notice your emphasis on Johnson's Southern heritage, implying a focus on winning Southern voters. Just be sure not to alienate the other wings of the party. We'll do our best. We're going to go to... Let's go to Iowa. November of last year, you narrowly escaped an assassination attempt in Dallas, Texas. Is there anything you'd like to say about this ordeal? What happened in Dallas was very difficult for me and my family. I'm grateful to be here today. I'm grateful that you've given me the opportunity to continue to lead this country for another 4 years. That'll get him in the feels. Many voters were moved by your words, and your vulnerability makes you come across as humble and down to earth. Beautiful. How does that help us? Total vote count. We're catching up. Goldwater's hanging strong in Washington. But we're starting to narrow our southern votes. So there we go. 1960, you saw great success with your ad campaign. Some would even credit these as a large part of why you won. Now that you're seeking re-election, will you use these ads in the same capacity? Well, absolutely. They're voters who still can't get the original tunes out of their heads. We'll carpet bomb the entire country in positive ads and get voters excited about the campaign. It's Kennedy for me. Kev, what's happening? Kev? There are a couple states we want to focus on trying to maximize our voter count. It's mainly Montana, Iowa, and Indiana. A little bit of Maine as well. We'll try to shore up our support in Indiana. One topic that's been fresh on voters' minds of the escalation is this election is the Cuban Missile Crisis. Goldwater has been painting it as a blunder on your part, while your team has framed your resolving the crisis as a feat of diplomacy. How would you like to address the issue? Well, of course, what occurred was extremely concerning to many Americans. We were put in a very precarious position. To act without caution could have meant nuclear war. I successfully talked down both Castro and Khrushchev and de-escalated the conflict. I asked the voters Do you think Barry Goldwater could have done the same? Loading in the whole country's deep red. Oh dear. Well, hang in there, bud. This is the perfect balance of exemplifying your own competence and painting Goldwater as unprepared for a similar situation. Good job. Thank you. Actually helped Goldwater a bit, though. We still got the lead, though, so I'm not too worried. Last year, you proposed your civil rights bill to Congress, expanding the rights of African Americans and desegregating public spaces. Currently, it's being held hostage by Howard Smith, chairman of the Rules Committee, will not let this bill pass through the House. Given your emphasis on civil rights in the past, how will you reassure the base? I can't have my bill locked up in some committee forever. I'll sit down with Howard personally and see what can be done to get it to Congress. So long as most of the bill stays intact, perhaps we can come to an agreement that we'll get this bill out before Election Day. Howard agrees to release a bill, provided a provision is added to protect women's rights. It passes it to the Senate, where it faces a steep filibuster, which Liberal Democrats are already finding a way to work around. It's unlikely to pass before Election Day, but you receive a healthy boost in polls, except in the South, of course. Fun fact, one of the main reasons people believe that, Howard Smith added this rule in, because this happened in real life. He added a provision for women's rights. Part of the reason he thought that he added that is because, allegedly, he thought it would make the vote fail, and instead he just ended up making the Civil Rights Act protect women's rights as well. So that's a funny little tidbit of history. Alleged history. I don't know if it's entirely true, but that's the story. Let's do... I'm not worried about Maine. Yeah, it's funny. Let's do Montana. Recently, Vice President Lyndon Johnson became the subject of scandals after allegations came out that he was related to the fraud case of Billy Bull Estes, as well as the ongoing investigation into his former secretary, Bobby Baker. How would you like to respond to statements? Obviously, any American would be concerned about allegations against someone in such a high office of government. However, I trust the Senate Rules Committee to conduct an above-board investigation and trust Vice President Johnson when he says he was not involved. This still stings among your base, who are disappointed by your support of Johnson. However, many are pleased with your moderate and cautious tone on the matter. Let's see how that helps us. It's very close in Oregon, Wisconsin, and Ohio, but we're bridging some gaps. The South is doing okay-ish. Alaska's actually leaning our way, which is pretty fun and interesting. Over the past year, you've gradually scaled back America's involvement in Vietnam, even as the North Vietnamese continue to escalate the conflict. What will be your policy with regard to Vietnam over the next 4 years? I want to stay the course in Vietnam. We'll keep the South Vietnamese well supplied and support them by any means necessary, but I prefer to keep American soldiers out of it for as long as possible. This is a good answer, as many Americans are not interested in going back to war, and we're worried that this will become another Korea. That still got brought down a little bit to earth with some of our numbers, which is okay. Let's do Indiana. Though Americans were skeptical at first, over the latter half of your term, you've successfully ended the recession. There has been some economic recovery. What plans do you have for your second term on the economic front? Economic recovery has been a success, and prepare to go even further. In my second term, I will propose new programs as well as expansions to existing one. This, paired with substantial tax cuts, will stimulate even more economic growth. Conservatives decry these proposals, but they are outweighed by the cheers across the nation. By and large, voters are happy with the improvements they've seen and are supportive of these programs. Beautiful. Not enough to see poll improvements, though. We're about 8 points behind in Indiana, about 7 points in Iowa, 6 points in Montana, slight losses in Ohio and Wisconsin as well. 12 vote. Still got the lead, but could be better. A new Goldwater ad just released of him with former President Eisenhower discussing the mistakes of administration and the future of his country. Is there anything you'd like to do to counter these ads? The best way to counter a figure like Eisenhower is a figure of our own. I'll reach out to President Truman and see if I can talk him into publicly endorsing me, if not making an ad of our own. Though Truman was skeptical at first, he certainly prefers you in the White House over Goldwater. He agrees to endorse you, does the ad, and even agrees to do some campaigning for you. While not on the level of Eisenhower, Truman's rebounding popularity will help you, especially among college-educated voters. Alright. Yep, we're getting some rebounds now. Not so much in Ohio, although it's not an insurmountable lead there. And picking up a bit of a slack in Montana. So goes the gap. There you go, Kev. There you go. Where do we want to go? Let's do Montana. In June of 1961, you had your first summit with Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev. The meeting was widely considered unsuccessful on your part. Currently, you and Khrushchev have plans for a second summit this November. What would you like voters to know about your plans for the second meeting? Let me be clear. America will never back down in the face of Soviet aggression. Well, we've already seen some successful nuclear testing ban and the establishment of a hotline. I don't care if it's Khrushchev or any other red. My concern is for America and her interests. Fortunately, Khrushchev's ousted the October preceding your summit and replaced with Leonid Brezhnev. However, your hardline stance against communist leaders has helped dull some of the negative effects. You had in Rhode Island. There you go, Kev. There we go. It's a fucking RNG one. I hate the RNG one. I know the code to inspect element and figure it out, but I don't want to cheese it too much. Well, last year, Unit Center Goldwater began working on a new format for debates to participate in over campaign season. Will you be honoring your side of these debates? Kev, 1, 2, or 3? 1, 2, 3. It's up to you, my man. You're my running mate. You're my Johnson. Be magnanimous. I mean, don't show up? Because I don't think that's going to work well. Fuck. I'll do this one. Let's go! Ah, fuck. By God, you've done it again. You went out there and turned the Kennedy charm up to 11, trouncing Goldwater on every issue. This is definitely going to boost your profile as a capable leader. There we go. That should help us, hopefully. Narrowing the gap in some of these places. Swing by Iowa. Following your meeting in 61, Khrushchev ordered the construction of a wall to prevent East Berliners from defecting to the west. Since then, they've only increased their fortification and was now known as the Berlin Wall. Do you have anything you want to add on these developments? Well, I think it's an excellent opportunity to flex our foreign policy credentials. We'll make another trip to West Berlin and meet with key leaders in the area. We'll make sure to condemn the wall publicly and frequently. The trip pays off. Americans reminded of your Ich bin ein Berliner speech last year, which gives you a minor bump nationwide. Wonderful. Look at that. Look at that. We're just about ahead in Maine. The gap is closing in Indiana. Doing good. Following your performance at the White House in 1962, rumors began circulating that you had an affair with the late actress Marilyn Monroe. Though not much has come of it, especially in light of her untimely death, there is the occasional story that you allegedly took part in many more extramarital affairs. What would you like to say about all this? You know, it doesn't seem like it's a big deal. JFK was a top shagger, own it. I don't think that'll do well for conservatives. We shouldn't say anything explicit about the alleged affairs. However, we'll try to appear with Jackie as much as possible and show America that we are a happy, loving family. This actually works pretty well. The general public eats up the image of your classic all-American family, and Jackie always does well in the press. Just try to keep it in your pants from here on out. Okay. 5 points, 4 points. Still 8 points there, but just about caught up in Maine. Let's do Iowa. After forcing him to integrate the University of Alabama, Democratic Governor George Wallace has been discussing running against you in order to prevent you from passing any further civil rights legislation. With several other prominent Southern Democrats backing him, how do you intend to keep the South in line? While I don't want to lose the South, I can't exactly ban my civil rights agenda either. Wallace and I may never see eye to eye, but perhaps we can cut a deal to prevent Southerners from bolting to the ticket. This is a canon one, which is a little weird, but you'll see why, but we'll go with it. After hours of back and forth with Wallace, you finally come to an agreement. He'll get the South behind you in exchange for your endorsement in 1968 when he launches his own campaign. It's an unholy alliance, but one you may need this election. I mean, it looks like we now have the South in our column, at least for Deep South. The Upper South is a bit more up in the air, but what are you going to do? We're 390 to 198 at this point. It's recently reported that China performed its first test of nuclear weapons. Given that China is the second greatest communist land in the world, what do you have to say about these developments? These developments are very concerning. I want to publicly condemn these tests and affirm our support for Taiwan. These are good pragmatic steps that show the public you're taking the situation seriously, but will not subject the country to unnecessary conflict. There we go. Let's do Iowa. Over the latter half of your term, you've begun passing some of your new frontier programs, forming both domestic and foreign policies. You have since discussed passing much larger programs over your second term, such as an amendment to Social Security, expansion of the Higher Education Act, and your controversial war on poverty. Do you stand by these proposals? We will support these programs. However, we'd be better off taking up the more popular ones, such as the Social Security reforms, and downplay those that are controversial among the average voter. Let's do it. This is a good approach. Well, not every voter is sold on these programs. Focusing on the popular ones helps bring many moderates on board. Beautiful. Look at that. We're just about closing the gap in the Upper South. Ohio, we got Virginia. Indiana's going to be close, but we're doing well in these states that we need to work on flipping. And our electoral college vote is coming along nicely. Some time ago, your former opponent, Richard Nixon, officially endorsed Goldwater for president. More recently, popular Hollywood actor Ronald Reagan has also endorsed his campaign via an extremely popular televised speech, giving Goldwater a sizable profile boost. How will you combat these endorsements? Well, these endorsements are hurting us, but we have an ace up our sleeves. Nelson Rockefeller has indicated he may be willing to endorse me. Let's reach out to him and set up something right away. Your pre-existing relationship with Rockefeller sways him into endorsing you. While Reagan and Nixon are still helping Goldwater, this endorsement does serious damage to his campaign in the northern states. Beautiful. Actually hurts us a little bit in Maine, but what are you going to do? Let's work on Montana. If you have a looming threat of the Soviet Union weighing on voters' minds, can you clarify what your administration's policy will be when interacting with the USSR in the coming 4 years? I don't think we should ease up on the Soviets, but neither do I think we should escalate our aggression. I promise to continue defending American values abroad without jeopardizing our security at home. It's a good moderate answer. It'll ease many Americans who don't want to fold with communists, but also concerned about the unnecessary foreign conflicts. Ooh, look at that. We're ahead in Montana. We got Iowa. We got Maine. You just really need to lay it on Indiana, and we got it. What's this at now? 468 to 70. Oh, man. As the Bobby Baker case drags on, more evidence surfaces showing Johnson was linked to several shady deals involving millions of dollars in government contracts. There's now even discussion of full-scale investigation of Johnson himself. What do you have to say on the matter? This is probably where we get some of our numbers cut down a bit. The rest is already having a field day of a story. There's no reason to give them any more to talk about. We'll keep Johnson's campaign trips relegated south for the time being and wait for the media to finally die down. Given how vicious the press has been on the story, it's probably for the best. Still, this is hurting your campaign. We were doing so good. But it's okay. It's okay. Let's go to Indiana. One or more substantial bills passed during your administration was the Tax Reduction Act passed earlier this year. Many conservatives, Democratic and Republican alike, stood in opposition to this act. Would you have to stay in defense of this policy? A rising tide lifts all boats. We cannot see continued economic growth without lowering taxes. This act was necessary in achieving just that. This act was a momentous accomplishment for your administration. It's widely popular among Americans. It's better that you defend it. Starting to salvage it a little bit. Upper South could still use some help. Iowa's starting to slip away a bit. Montana we're holding on to. The East we could use a bit more. In June of 1962, the Supreme Court ruled on controversial Engel v. Vitale case prohibiting mandatory school prayers. This ruling has been hotly debated ever since. Discussions of the case being relitigated, Americans are wondering if you would appoint justices who would uphold the original ruling or who would overturn it. On the balance, I do agree that prayers should never be mandatory. However, school prayer was already optional at the time of a ruling. I feel that this was the best system and would appoint justices who agree. It's a good answer to these conservatives while being acceptable to most liberal voters. Good job walking the line on that one. There we go. Oh, God, it's close. Let's do Montana. Election day coming up soon, and your civil rights bill still at the mercy of Congress. Civil rights debate is as fervid as ever. With both sides rapidly approaching a boiling point, many voters are looking to you for guidance on the issue. While the situation we're in is a delicate one, I stand by my proposed bill. We'll continue to approach the issue with caution and pragmatism. More than anything, we should focus on being united as we move forward. Well, there's no way to please everyone. This is probably as close as you can get. Okay. Striking distance. We just about have a solid South. With campaign coming to close, what would you like to be your final message to the voters before they head to the polls this Tuesday? Four years ago, I told the American people to ask themselves what they can do for their country. What I have done is led America to economic recovery, advance civil rights, and protected America at home and abroad. Together, I hope we can do even more for our country over the next 4 years. Bringing up your achievements is never a bad thing. The speech plays well with most of the country. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. That is beautiful. Whew. We're going to campaign in Indiana. Let me check the electoral. 464 to 74. We're going to campaign in Indiana. It's the day before election. You have time for one more trip to do some last-minute campaigning. Where do you want to go? I believe if we campaign on the East Coast, that's going to do this. Let's go ahead and make sure the East Coast is locked down. Start this morning, heading from Richmond to Newark, up to Hartford, before finishing with incredible rallies in Manhattan and Philadelphia. The East Coast will be vital for your chances. Good luck, Mr. President. Election night's arrive. Settle in and wait for the returns, however long it may take. Best of luck. All right, boys. Let's see what we can do. A question in my mind, Maine and Indiana. I'm not sure how those are going to go. If the polling holds up, we'll get these states here, outside of the 48. Just about all the deep south. Just about, I think, everything east of the Mississippi, exception to Vermont and New Hampshire. North's getting more and more closer to me. There you go. We're already steamrolling. Ah, damn it. Damn it. No Indiana. No Indiana. But we got Texas, and we already won. So everything else is just cake at this point. Oh. North Dakota was called. Still coming together. Okay, West Coast is going to start rolling in. These states are going to be close. We got Maine. We got California. I think we're going to get all the rest of these. The biggest question mine is Iowa. Montana's a bit of a question mark as well. But, okay. Oregon, we got 3 more states. Let's go! 468 to 70. Oh my god, that is beautiful. It brings a tear to my eye. Whew! Well, the West Coast, the Deep South, the Upper South, everything east of the Mississippi, except for Indiana, Vermont, and New Hampshire. A decent amount of the plains. I don't think I'm going to get that. Hey, you never know. You never know. Look at that. Seemed inevitable, like fate, but that didn't make the victory any less sweet. You deliver your speech in front of a Boston crowd of screaming supporters, speaking of hope and prosperity on the horizon for America. Your landslide victory has given a sense of renewed hope to Democrats across the nation. Of course, this support for your campaign has also drummed up the support for Democrats down ballot. With gains made and a little support from liberal Republicans, maybe it will pass some serious legislation this term. Naturally, many will be expecting a proper civil rights bill and hopefully more expansion to your new frontier. You'll also have to soundly navigate the nation through Vietnam and continue to work on relations with Russia and other communist powers like China. Hope you can make proactive steps towards de-escalating tensions around the world. Who knows what else is in store for you? Maybe you'll hand off the presidency to your sibling in 68, excuse me. For now, take a moment, relax, have a drink. You've got 4 more busy years ahead of you. Let's check out the election map again, just for some, how close was? Montana was pretty damn close. Iowa was slightly less close. Maine actually pulled in decently well. Well, let's check the results by state. I want to see the closest states. Tennessee was actually way closer than I realized. 900 votes there. About 400 in Montana. Iowa was about 2,000 votes, so that wasn't too bad. Kentucky about, that's 7,000? And then Maine, about 4,000. So not too bad overall. What was the least close state? DC, which I should have expected. I'm surprised Goldwater even got that many. Rhode Island, Utah was a pretty good state for Goldwater. Election map. Look at that. Gosh darn it, look at that. That's pretty good. I'm proud of that. It might be possible to get Indiana if I put all my efforts into it. But I might end up sacrificing Montana and Iowa. So all things considered, I think this is a pretty damn good result. So yeah, that is the new campaign trail, the Viva Kennedy mod. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you like this video, leave a like. If not, feel free to dislike. If you want to see more of this content in the future, the sub button. I have uploads going weekdays as well as occasionally Saturdays. Weekdays are usually reserved for strategy game content like Europa Universalis and Hearts of Iron. But I like to do stuff like this for Saturday uploads. So if you're interested, hit the sub button. I'm going to be playing Viva Kennedy 68 sometime soon. So if you want to keep up to date with that, check out the Twitch. Send a follow to that. Also, leave any comments down in the comment section below if you want to try out any specific scenarios. I know there's the RFK series of mods. There's also one where Nixon wins, so we can rewind the script, plays Nixon, and try to win that way. And then play around with that a little bit. That might be fun. We can do some other stuff. Try to not make it too modern, but we can mess around and have some fun. So just, yeah. But yeah, I have various links down in the description box below if you want to check those out. The Twitch, which I already mentioned. I also have Patreon, Discord, and my second channel if you want to check those out. And, yeah. Let's go ahead. That's about it for now, folks. Thank you so much for watching. My name has been Mr. Dogboat333. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.